So I recently picked up a game on Xbox called The Long Dark, which is it's a survival game. So it's a little bit like DayZ, it's a little bit like Rust, except the emphasis on this one is to actually survive in the wilderness as opposed to try and
What
survive
have we
against
here?
monsters and other people. I wasn't going to do a video on it. I wasn't even going to buy the game actually, but then when I started to play, I realised that it's really decent. And that's probably comes down to the fact that it's you against the environment and not necessarily monsters, to be honest. So it's set in what is, I assume, northern Canada. Everywhere outside is absolutely freezing, and you're supposed to be a pilot whose plane's been downed, but the story mode isn't actually there yet. As it's an early access, it's just the sandbox mode at the moment, so it's just you trying to survive for as long as you can. So if you've played any other survival games, you get the drill with what you do and basic sort of gameplay as you go around and collect things and you manage an inventory and you try and have enough gear with you to survive so that you don't end up getting murdered or freezing or whatever may happen to you. Um, it's a really brutal survival game, probably because it's the environment that kills you. They've upped the difficulty of that. I've been playing on the medium difficulty, and to begin with, the first few lives were very challenging. Obviously, you're going to run out of things to survive within the environment, so you've got a finite amount of time that you can actually survive there. You can craft things like I'm doing just in this video, so you're able to make a whole range of things, but I haven't fully explored that yet because this survival part is difficult to even get the equipment I need to then test it out. The longest I've managed to survive is about 7 days, and that's an extreme push. I've had some really close calls, which to be honest I've really enjoyed, because most of these kind of games you can survive for as long as you want until you do something really stupid. In this, any decision that you make, you are pretty much punished for. It's more fun in the first few hours that I played it because I have no idea where I was going, so every single time that I left the building or tried to move about to go and get more food, that I didn't know where I could possibly go or come back to. So just the process of walking burns calories. You become thirsty, you become hungry, you become tired, you need to sleep. If you haven't got enough food, you'll die in your sleep because you won't have enough calories. So it's really difficult game to balance out. In the environment there are things like wolves and bears that may attack you, but to be honest I've not had too many problems with the wolves. I've been killed by one in an interior. Other than that, when you're outside, if you've got something lit like a flame, common sense says they won't attack you with it, and that's what happens in the game. So it's really just you against the world really, and the fact that it's absolutely freezing. And you can see on the screen that just pulled up that you've got things like your thirst, hunger, temperature. You can freeze to death quite easily, and then it affects your overall condition. So it's balancing your equipment and the things that you've actually got against the need to go out and find more to actually survive. When you're in a building, survival is not too difficult, but when you get lost in the middle of nowhere and it's night and it's dark and there's a blizzard, then you get some really difficult calls, which is a really fresh gameplay aspect that I don't think I've ever had in a game before to this extent. So the majority of it is just traversing the environment, and at first I wasn't quite sure how big the environment was, and I did do a couple of earlier impressions, but they're just not relevant anymore. There are 3 worlds that you can go to in the game. 2 of them are locked until you find them through exploring the world, and each sort of section it's not massive. It's easy to become lost in it because, like you can see there, I walked over a hill that maybe suggests you couldn't or shouldn't be supposed to walk over there. But there are different areas. It's a decent sort of environment. It would take you a good, in real life, sort of 10-15 minutes to get from one side to the other, and then there are 3 of these total, and you usually access them through caves and different environments to get there. You can't jump in this game, which is a little bit weird. It kind of feels like a bit of a disconnect with the environment, and I'm not totally sure why you can't jump. Maybe that'll be something they add in, I don't know yet. That's one thing that's kind of a little bit odd. In general, I've been really impressed with the quality of the graphics. They look simple, but they can look really beautiful when you get them at the right sort of time of day. Like for example now, when I'm wandering around with the sun setting in the background, it does look really cool. And there's a lot of things that happen with the light that work really well. There's sometimes concerns with the fact that it's an early access alpha, but with this game you won't really have too many problems. I haven't run into any bugs in about 10-15 hours at all. The core mechanics are really solid. They're really locked down really well, so you don't need to worry at all about the game crashing out on you or anything like that, as far as I've seen. It has impressed me that for an alpha, the core mechanics and how you even play the game have been thought out and have been implemented almost, what I'd say, perfectly. They do seem finished to me. It's just the rest of the game now needs to be built around it. So all the systems are there, everything that you perhaps are going to encounter in the finished game seems to me as if it's like in a shippable position. It's just there's no story mode and the sandboxes haven't all been developed and added in, which is a good way of doing it, because a lot of the other games that I've played, like DayZ for example, it feels like the core mechanics are completely broken, but they've developed all the worlds and everything else is there, which makes sense from that development route that they went down. But with this, you've got a game here that you can enjoy and you can push pretty much, and then the rest of it's going to fall into place. So there's quite a lot of playability even now. So I'd say to buying it, I mean, have a go at the trial, but it's probably worth, depending on what your opinion of these kind of games are, it's definitely worth 16 quid just to get involved now. A couple of things that are a little bit annoying, and obviously they might change because it's early access alpha, is, for example, going in buildings, there is a load period for it, which seems a bit strange because some of the environments are really, really small. It kind of has a disconnect between the game world, which isn't that great. There are obviously frame rate problems, performance isn't very consistent at the moment. Generally you'll be absolutely fine, you might not even notice it, but there is an option to unlock your vertical sync anyway, so you can play through it without too much on the performance. But other than that, it's just a lack of content at the moment. You're going to get a good 20 hours out of it just trying to survive. It's taken me a while to find the different environments and to get used to some of the systems, like being really, really cold, warming yourself up, how to use fires, how to cook. But that all ties into the fact that the core gameplay concepts are really, really solid, and it is a really decent game. So I'd recommend picking this up, having a look at it, or at very least playing the free trial. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I might be putting up some more content on this in the future. I'll certainly do some updates when they release some of the new things, like perhaps when they release the story mode or some new sandboxes, and just give some impressions on it.